So I bought this ridiculous thing, and a lot of people have asked me questions about it, so I figured it would be probably a good video. So what this is an 05X Runner, which is a V6 manual 6-speed rear-wheel drive factory-lowered Tacoma, which is kind of an odd thing to have. I would think nobody outside of high school would actually want to have that. But for what I'm planning to do with it, it's actually kind of perfect because it can haul one bike and not much more. And it gets semi-decent miles per gallon. And it's actually a fun little truck once I undo all the things that the previous owners have done. For example, this ridiculous wheel set. The rear, they're both 20s, but the rear is super wide, rubs on everything, and so it rubs the strut tower, it rubs the top of the fender. It's like a 305 tire, like a Corvette or something, like absurdly way too large, and these wheels seem really heavy. And the front is wearing that same thing, but for some reason with snow tires, and it also rubs everywhere. I can't really get the phone in there to show the rub, but you really can't turn too hard, otherwise it just rubs. So new wheels are in the picture, tires are going to show up eventually, and then when I swap them out, this should drive quite a bit better. So overall, my first impression of it is it's a dumbass truck. It is not good at truck things because low and rear-wheel drive. So the reasons people buy trucks, not satisfied. Also, not much payload. I think it's like 800 pounds driver and cargo. So it's me and a bike, and that's about it. But that's perfect for what I need. But here's the best part. The tailgate is right around my knee height. So walking into it, you can just step right up instead of using a step stool or instead of using a giant ramp. So I can bring a small ramp and load bikes a couple of feet off the ground. Super easy. Now, some previous owner experiences. I have a feeling this was forever owned by high school kids, and more on that in a second. But the exhaust was, the fender was cut with like a Sawzall or something so that it can fit the exhaust, which then doesn't sit anywhere near the cut. I'm not sure what the deal is with that. The exhaust overall, you can kind of see it here. It's hanging super low. It's kind of all sorts of crooked. And then there's a bunch of exhaust tape and who the hell knows what going on there. So something that I need to deal with. And then, well, let's keep going. These side skirts like to pop off right now because they're held on by hopes and prayers. The Russian license plate was my addition. I'm not a huge fan of the headlights and taillights. They seem a little dim because they're kind of smoked, and they're just cheapy aftermarkets, so maybe that's something that needs to be dealt with. Now, inside, this car, well, there's two things. There's a actually decent head unit thing. It's not awful. The shift knob is, I don't know how I've lived without a cue ball kind of style shift knob before, because this is the most comfortable shift knob I've ever had. Now, there's not a whole lot exciting in here. It's just a Tacoma, but if phones could transmit smell, you would absolutely believe that this has never been owned by anybody except high school kids, because either that or strippers, because it smells like weed that's been covered up by perfume, and it's like a very pungent smell. So I've been running the ozonator for a while to get rid of the smell. That seems to have worked a little bit. I'm gonna air it out, leave the windows open as much as possible, eventually it'll get better. But yeah, right now it's punching in here. So let's pop the hood and see what other interesting things this pile has for us. And what it has is a K&N, which is decent. That you know, I have to open it up and see if I need to clean it still. That might be still good. That might need to be cleaned and recharged. It also has this Powerade thing, which I suspect is kind of like one of those tornado vortex things or something like that just sits in the intake and makes a mess of things. So I have a feeling that's going to be coming out. I'm going to have to figure out how to clamp it all back together, if it's easily deletable, or if I need to like get a spacer, or if maybe I can just take it out and gut it. Otherwise, it's actually pretty decent in here. The X-Runner specifically gets really filthy because of the scoop that injects dirt into the motor, but you know, that'll all clean up. In general, it drives okay. Everything that's a drivability issue right now is I'm basically chalking up to tires, but once I swap out the tires, I will reevaluate. It may need a couple of things, but it was also fairly cheap for any Tacoma, and one with only 100,000 miles on it. So yeah, there's the idiotic new truck for anybody interested.